Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and of course you guys know in the last week I put out a new intermediate strength program, which is an off-season program. I discussed a little bit of the issues with daily undulating periodization, and one of the criticisms I got and people have pointed out is that, but Jason, sure you say linear periodization can make slightly better progress in the long terms towards various specific goals, whatever they happen to be, overall strength, even peak power, or possibly even overall muscle size. All these things, sure it does that, but you detrain different elements, and it's really hard for you to maintain multiple performance elements all at their best at the same time, and that's one reason that the undulating periodization is better. And the question that I would ask you is that if you're not an in-season athlete who needs to have all of these various performance elements at their best right at this moment, do you really care? Does it matter if your work capacity and strength stamina drops a little bit on, say, like my 12-week intermediate program during the final 6 weeks of the 12-week program? Does it really matter if you don't have some sort of event where you need that strength stamina, or maybe you're losing just a little bit of the transient storage factors that help you hold on to a little more muscle glycogen so the muscles look just a tiny, tiny bit fuller for someone who's lean and using it for power building purposes? Does it really matter if your overall yearly progress is a little better if these things detrain during a certain block? And it's the same when you go back to the higher volume 2 blocks right there. That first 6 weeks where I've got it divided into those 2 blocks, and you're using relatively high reps and relatively high volume. Does it really matter if your maximum strength in your 1 rep max decreases by 2 or 3% during that phase, or even 5% if you're not going to do a strength event during that 6 weeks at any point? It shouldn't matter at all. Yearly goals are met, or someone who doesn't have an in-season at all, wouldn't you rather make slightly more progress throughout the course of a year over your total overall goals with some sort of linear periodized program, if you know that it will help you reach your goals a little bit sooner, or you can make slightly more progress towards whatever your personal goals are as a non-competitor, than keeping all of those performance elements closer to their peak at any given time. That's why a program like that, I've said previously that sometimes you need an undulating or a concurrent type training during an in-season for an athlete, or possibly a peaking program depending on what sort of sport you compete in. Because when I'm talking about these sort of strength programs, we're talking about a strength program that's applicable for 50 different sports. Almost every sport requires you to develop overall strength and improve strength and power to a greater or lesser degree. And even getting bigger, if someone's goal is to just get big and muscular, it's the same thing. You still need to work on these things. And so if you have a clearly defined off-season that is, in that case, longer than 12 weeks for something like a 12-week linear periodization program, what is the problem with running something like that? Who cares if certain performance elements detrain a little bit while you focus on others for various blocks, as long as your overall progress is improved? And you can always go back to either some sort of peaking program or some sort of concurrent or undulating periodization program during your actual in-season for your sport or your competitive endeavor when the time comes. And that's something I absolutely hold true, that linear periodization is generally going to be better unless you have a reason not to use it specifically. It's going to be better for your off-season, for athletes who have a clearly defined off-season, and for intermediate and up people who are non-competitors, who just want a simplistic progression model that requires less headaches, less work, and will actually help them reach their goals relatively quickly. I think something like that is very, very viable. And I think it's a very, very good choice for those people. And who cares if performance elements detrain slightly during periods of time when you don't actually need them to be at their best for any reason other than your ego? So hopefully that shuts down that criticism of linear periodization and explains a little more of when you would actually utilize it. All right, guys, so that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it has been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time. But let me give you guys a bicep shot before I go. Oh, Mount Vesuvius.